Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So within today's video, I do want to speak about exactly what Xavi Hernandez has been missing in Europe, because we know that Xavi Hernandez does not have the best stats and the best numbers when he is out there playing against the best clubs in the world, and especially in Europe. Like in La Liga, we see Xavi Hernandez and the Barcelona players do very well, but when it does come to the Europa League or the Champions League, it's a much different story. If we look at the amount of matches that Xavi Hernandez has played in Europe, it was a total of 16. Xavi Hernandez has only won a total of 4 games out of those 16 matches. So he has tied against Benfica, lost against Bayern, tied against Napoli, won against Napoli again, tied against Galatasaray, won against Galatasaray, and then Frankfurt tie, and then another loss. And then you can see here that is this current season, Victoria Pleasant, they started off with a win. Then they lost against Bayern, lost against Inter, tied against Inter, lost against Bayern, and that is how Barcelona ended up being in the Europa League. And then we saw them go up against Manchester United after going up against Victoria Pleasant, and they have tied against Manchester United. And then we saw what we saw 2 days ago, which was Barcelona losing against Manchester United 2-1 and globally 4-3. So again, the stats is not good, and that is the reason why I don't want to make this video, is because I want us to understand what exactly has been the weakness of Xavi Hernandez and this Barcelona squad. Like, why do we keep failing? Why do we look so good in La Liga to the point where we seem unbeatable, but in the Europa League, in the Champions League, we get out so early? Now let me get one thing very clear. For me, right, in my opinion, right, for me to see Barcelona come out of the Europa League this early, it's not a big deal for me. I'm gonna be very honest. Like, yes, it would have been nice to see Barcelona beat Manchester United and shut down these fans from United, but at the end of the day, like, it's not a really big deal for myself, and I believe for most Barcelona fans. And especially when you saw, right, when we saw Xavi Hernandez place his starting 11 in the first leg against Manchester United that did not include Alejandro Balde and Andreas Christensen, I'm like, okay, if Xavi Hernandez is not going to give 100% in this first leg, I'm also not going to be carrying 100%. Like, it's clear that the priority is to win La Liga. It's not to win the Europa League. Maybe Xavi Hernandez is like, look, Barcelona historically should be known to be a Champions League team, not a Europa League team. I am not going to really care about the Europa League. Yes, I'm going to be trying my best to win Manchester United, but I'm not going to put my best players, because you know what? We have another game in about 6 to 7 days, which will be in La Liga, and I want to win that over this game against Manchester United. So when I saw that, I'm like, okay, fine. The priority is La Liga. And that is why I'm sitting here today and telling you guys that it does not really matter to me. It's not really a big deal. And I believe that Xavi Hernandez also knows that if you do well in La Liga and you continue to win the league titles every season, like you win 3 out of the 4 league titles that were available to you in the past 4 years, it does translate towards Europe, and you end up doing very good in Europe. And that is what Xavi Hernandez is aiming for. If you win the Europa League, it does not really prove anything. It doesn't prove nothing. Like, if you win the Europa League, it does not mean that you'll do well in the Champions League, right? It just doesn't go in that way. We have seen that historically. We have seen that happen to Manchester City. They have done so well in the Premier League, and that is why they have been going so far in the Champions League. The same thing for Bayern. They have been doing so well in the Bundesliga, which amounts to confidence, and that is why you always see them in the conversations to be the favorites in the Champions League. And the same thing for Real Madrid. It's always the exact same story. Xavi Hernandez knows this, and he wants that to happen for FC Barcelona. Now, I'm going to be coming back to this match between United and Barcelona in just a few minutes and just talk about, like, what are the positive takeaways from this game. But again, like I did say, I want to get straight to the point and talk about why exactly is Xavi Hernandez failing in Europe. And that's going to be this. Xavi Hernandez is really missing his best players when it comes to games like this, and it is because of injuries, right? That is the main reason why Xavi Hernandez has been failing. It is because every time we do go into these knockout stages, one of our key players always has to be taken away from us. We saw that in the second leg against United 2 days ago. We saw that against Inter Milan in the second leg a couple of months ago, and we again saw that against Bayern Munich, which was a few months ago, where we lost 3-0, which was in the group stages. And that is because we lost our key players. Like, for example, this Manchester United game, right? We had our defense. Yet, like, I'm gonna give you guys this. We had our so-called back defense, which does stand for Balde, Araujo, Christensen, and Koundé. We had our best defense, but our attack, right, it was just so not there. The force was not there with FC Barcelona. Like, the fact that we had Sergi Roberto as our left winger, and we had a out of form Rafinha and Lewandowski, we couldn't do anything. Even if Xavi Hernandez wanted to win this game, we couldn't do anything with a front three like that. Like, the fact that we saw Sergi Roberto as a left winger, that's like the same thing as seeing Alejandro Balde playing as a right back, right, in Dani Alves' position. You just knew that we ran out of options. And I know, right, we could have placed Ansu Fati, but now hearing what happened to Ansu Fati and how he's going to be out for about 5 to 7 weeks, maybe this is something that Xavi Hernandez and the rest of the sporting staff knew about. They probably knew that Ansu Fati was not 100%, and that is why today we're hearing that he's going to be out for the next 5 to 7 days. I think I said weeks a couple of seconds ago, but I meant to say days. 5 to 7 days. And so, like, who really is reliable at this point? And the one player that could have been relied on could have been Xavi, but of course he had that yellow card, and we also had Pedri injured. We also had Dembele get injured. These three players were key to Xavi Hernandez and this squad. Now you may say, right, and I'm so ready for this conversation. We can have this in the comment sections for as long as we want. We can talk about this like for forever because I'm ready, right? Because you may say that this is an excuse because you want to defend Xavi Hernandez. You may say that to me, and I understand that you might see me as trying to give off an excuse, but hear me out just for a bit. Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp play extremely bad without Virgil van Dijk. Historically, it has been shown. The stats is there. Every time this player does get injured, the downfall of Liverpool does start. We can even see like this year, this little short-term injury that Van Dijk had, Liverpool were losing some games this year. But historically, in the past 2 or 3 years, it has been shown that without Van Dijk, they do play at a much lower level. We can even look at the stats here. It does say here that Van Dijk, and this is according to The Athletic, Van Dijk has featured in 74 games in all competitions alongside Konate and Gomez since the opening day of last season. Liverpool have won 51 of them, giving them a win percentage of 68.9%. Of the 18 games without Van Dijk in that exact same period, Liverpool have won 10, right? 10, a win percentage of 54.5%. And that is a big change, a huge change. Then it does say here, according to The Athletic, with Van Dijk in their team, Liverpool have averaged 2.3 goals per game and 0.8 goals against them, compared to 1.8 goals per game and 1.3 conceded without Van Dijk. And so what is the whole point of me telling you this? I'm not trying to trash Liverpool, by the way, because Liverpool is a great team, but why am I bringing this up? Well, I'm not hearing any news about saying Klopp should be out, that Klopp out, hashtag Klopp out, Klopp is not good for Liverpool, Klopp this, Klopp that. We don't hear any of that type of fire. We don't hear that agenda. But with Xavi, when he misses Dembele, Pedri, and Xavi, three key big time players for this squad, everybody wants to say Xavi out, Xavi this, Xavi's not the way, Xavi is too inexperienced, bring Tuchel, bring Pep Guardiola, Zidane, or whatever these people want to say. Like, I don't understand that type of logic. Like, even if Xavi is right now in La Liga on a 7-game win streak and being unbeaten in 18 games so far and having a total of 17 clean sheets in La Liga, of course, and they're first by a huge margin, even until today, people want to say Xavi out, Xavi's not the way, Xavi is horrible in Europe, and this and that. Guys, if you're giving Klopp a chance to build himself up again with Liverpool, the same thing should be happening between Xavi Hernandez and FC Barcelona, especially when you know that right now Xavi is without his 3 best players. And then I remember at some point like 2 or 3 years ago, Bayern Munich were saying we don't have Lewandowski, we can't score a lot of goals, and then that was one of the reasons on why Bayern Munich were lacking goals around that time, is because Lewandowski was not there. These things do happen. Like, these teams, they need a specific player to perform at their very best. Like, why are we acting in this game between United and Barcelona that Barcelona were just not good enough, and we're acting like Pedri and Xavi and Dembele were actually there? Pep Guardiola also admitted a few months ago, and he said this: I tried making Messi the best player in the world, but he ended up making me the best manager in the world. So it's just another coach, right, basically saying that yes, certain players are very important to you and they make you much better. Dembele, Xavi, Pedri make Xavi Hernandez much better. If Ansu Fati was 110%, it would make Xavi Hernandez much better. But Xavi Hernandez does not have that. Now, I want to also take this somewhere else. Let's have accountability. I want to have accountability for myself, and I want to say one thing. With us knowing that we have a great starting 11 that we could claim to be the champions of Europe with these group of players, if one of these players do get injured and we cannot replicate the exact same type of success with our subs, then this summer should be a summer where we have to reinforce our bench like 100%. We need to have a strong starting 11 on the field and on the bench, because if we can have a strong attack, for example, for next season, and we have Ansu, Ferran, Vitor, Roque, Lewandowski, Rafinha, Messi, and Dembele, then that would end up being much more ideal. This type of depth is also needed. You may say that this is too much, this is over exaggeration, this is just helping Xavi too much. Well, Pep Guardiola has the exact same type of resources. Why is no one saying anything against Pep Guardiola? The same thing for Bayern Munich. They're stacked. Even Manchester United, they're stacked. Ten Hag has so much resources to play with. So a team like this is so necessary. And again, the reason why Barcelona were unable to compete in Europe is because of these injuries. And because we have these injuries, we're not able to respond to an objective like this. So I'm still a big believer in Xavi Hernandez. I think that this is the man to take Barcelona forward. We are no longer a team that loses and gets knocked out against one of the European teams and lose like 3-0, 4-0. We are a team that can compete. We can compete against the best. I'm not saying that we're a team that can win and win everything right now, because we're not, but we can compete. And that is a huge step forward from where we were before. Now we just need to take that extra step forward and tweak certain parts and make those reinforcements. Even Xavi Hernandez did say after the match was over between United and Barcelona on the plane, it was reported that Xavi was speaking to Joan Laporta and he said this: "Now I do have the feeling that we have competed, that we are already very close right now, but right now the squad does not reach the level to win it all," which is exactly what I said. Again, the goal is to have La Liga in our hands by the end of the season, to win the Copa del Rey. It would have been nice to beat Manchester United because we have the capability, but we just did not have our players. And I also want to give props to Ten Hag for what he did. I'm not trying to like shame this coach. He is a phenomenal coach, a coach that does further the philosophy of Johan Cruyff, another student, just like Xavi Hernandez. Notice how his type of football is winning the world right now, and no one really does see it in the media. And so he has been doing a solid job with Manchester United. He uses his resources very well, and that's basically it. That is going to be wrapping up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.